Hello, everyone. GoldenHawk. I don't want to say creator of ancient powers, but I'm the cornerstone of the return, or one of them, and the house of life. I'm coming on live today to speak about the release, what some people are calling tragic world events with Notre Dame, the mosque, and the Acropolis. And I see absolutely no tragedy. I've had people come on and go, the destruction of civilizations. It's like, no. Humanity was civilized long before we were Romanized. Humanity was civilized before the cataclysm. The ancient mathematics and even the functioning of the dimensions, what science is finally catching up and giving name to, as if they didn't have ancient names in many languages, the Egyptian, the Amara, many others. The ancient sites of civilization were the sacred wells, the sacred groves, the vortexes, the great magnetic points, the ley lines, the nodes, and even the straight roads that the Romans came across and laid lead-filled concrete on. They weren't surprised to see it when they came to Britain. They'd seen it everywhere else across the world. An ancient and truly civilized world had once existed. The Romanization of Britain, the Islam and Muslim takeover of the Middle East, the Judeo situation, did not bring civilization. They brought a different form of blood magic and sacrifice. Leviticus is a fun read. I mean, it's full of animal sacrifice, but bringing the Christ teachings into connection with the old Judeo was done on purpose. It was a chosen thing. Christ was left as a sacrifice on the cross to bleed forever. And then these specific peoples went across the earth and took the lands. They took the lands from the Middle East. They took the lands in Egypt eventually. But the sacred in Egypt still stands, civilized, beyond today's civilization. And I have a hard time calling it that. These people wore. These people have no use for women and children except for bleeding them dry energetically and using them in slavery consciousness. It's been proven that the Roman Catholic Church is still doing it. And there's sexual sacrifices of children all around the globe and the protection of these leaders. I want to speak directly to Notre Dame. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful building. And all of the masters from all over came to work on Notre Dame to apply their skills, to apply their craft for almost nothing. And as they did this, people all around them died. People died by plague, but more people were hunted down and killed. The tribal people, the Native Americans, the Native South Americans, the Native Hawaiians can tell you all about this. They scream, they cry, they flail their hands, they go against the governments at this point, but it happened all over Europe, and the sacred places were taken, the groves were cut down, The sacred trees were used to build very specific pieces for the church. And these master masons, these master builders, although they put a great deal of their own symbolism inside these edifices, they locked the energy down, they capped the magnetic power, they focused everyone into the matrix that was being strengthened and further created, the matrix of servitude, of false karma, of slavery. And they hunted Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, Navarre, all the different areas of France and Spain that actually had a multitude more kings and a multitude more countries. The Burgundians, they hunted them all. They killed them. They burned them. They pressed them. They sacrificed them. They brought parts and pieces of them in and did sacred ceremony and locked them in to strengthen their buildings. These were called the burning times, and they lasted for hundreds of years. St. Patrick hunted in Ireland and drove the serpents, the keepers of ancient wisdoms, off the cliffs. They took their children, if they let them live. They raped them. They put them in nunneries and had them serve as they chose. They did it area by area, section by section, and they locked it into their building. The Acropolis in Greece, centered similarly to Stonehenge, actually, and built with some Cyclopean and megalithic stones, and then locked in later on, dialed in to bring the star energies, dialed in to align with the zodiac, the writhing, moving serpentine, no longer circling, but ecliptical zodiac wheel, which we now have. Go in and run somebody's chart, and it's like, oh, did you know that you're missing 2 signs from your chart? They're swallowed because there's a big warp because of the extra degrees, because the Earth is no longer in a 360-degree circle, which means we are no longer a torus field. We are no longer creating in alignment with the rest of our galaxy, which means we're out of alignment with our entire universe and multiverse. And so it's like, they locked it in. And the message that Yeshua ben Yosef came to teach got locked into the structure of those who followed an old creator God from the outside of us. And although Yeshua rose as Osiris and walked the earth, as well as moving into the other dimensions, here in what's considered our timeline, which fortunately we are moving further and further away from, and into holographic time and an understanding of it. But Yeshua hung on a cross and bled the crucifix During the restoration in Notre Dame, the gargoyles were removed. And whatever caused the fire, it happened because it was no longer protected. It happened because the blood magic was unlocked. It happened because so many are done. So many are rising into awareness. Every one of you that recognizes what has been done and wants it over is part of that. I was absolutely not surprised to see that the mosque burned. My peace sitting here at home was, but I was told there'd be 3. And then I got the little post from Bonnie Harding. Thank you. Of course, it started with Temu. Comes the lightning. And it started in a place where misogyny got a deep, thick hold into the ancient Athenian and Hellenistic cities and civilization. The Acropolis, Aho, and Danlico. And there were water altars being put up here in the Pacific Northwest during this time by natives and those who are working with them, other tribal peoples from other places who were raised in this supposed civilization, who got beyond the indoctrinated teachings of the school systems. Hello, Terry. I miss you, girl. And their altars were taken down actually the next day. They have a treaty that states the land that the park is on is theirs in tribal lands. And today the treaty is completely being ignored. And Robert went to pick up stuff from the altar so that he could put them back up. And he said, here's an eagle feather. This is a $250,000 fine if you take this down, letting them know that he's going to invoke it. And somebody will go to prison. And the man looked at him and said, I'm Spokane. And that's a tribe. So they set down a man from another tribe to take down these altars. This is purely evil. But I have absolute belief that this was worked out. And my suggestion was, let your boss come down and take down the altar. Refuse for religious reasons to touch someone else's sacred altar on their own sacred land, whether they've allowed it to be open to the public or not. Chastity, Terry, I really didn't expect anyone to come on at this point today. I didn't think that too many people would have time off, but I've got meetings tonight, and this is the time I had. Terry's always working out. And I'm always working on structuring the courses. I want to let everyone know that the Semitawi is completed for the initial introduction course with the rods, and to get the introduction course in the women's empowerment. I am planning on launching on Beltane when my subscriptions and courses will be coming out. It will be centered through House of Life. And I will be putting out Ancient Powers, the Semitawi, and the Body of Unification. And these are under the three main teaching temples of Egypt. So these are the three main teachings that went out. And I'll be bringing in others over the next year or two who are going to be able to give the astrological and some of the other pieces in accordance with the other temples as I open up the rotation through the great wheel and the great ages, so that we can clear our shadow bodies and release ourselves from the matrix and structure our power. And I want to remind you that those who choose to do these pieces will bring this into their next life. And I am structuring this so that you can do it at like a very small subscription fee, and then buy the other classes as you can, or you can come in and get the whole thing and zip through it in accordance to whatever your economic situation is, and also family and things like that, because we have to take care of ourselves, our parents, our children, and our community. And it's the most important thing that we can do is to make home. I am going to make the first 3 months of my subscription free to everyone who's been waiting all of this time for the actual course, and it will be here in Ancient Powers. I'm going to be moving people into House of Life for the real basic interaction, and I am very thankful and grateful to all of you who stuck with me through all of this. And I'm not very good in front of a camera. It took me a long time to be able to do this and actually be able to go into channel. I'm going to be bringing in several guests actually to bring the channel out, and asking for interaction from all of you, so that the better the question, the better the answer. And I'm a connection into the ancient netters. I'm also allowed to be me, so I can go in for myself, but I don't speak those pieces. I need to have interaction from you, have those excellent questions asked, so that the resonance coming back from that field applies to what your needs are. Yes, they did work this out. The evil events, and actually, Terry, we've been sending a lot of power to take down every one of the cathedrals that are built on our ancient sacred sites to get rid of the blood magic. There's no better way than fire or lightning, but water works too, and flooding's okay. But I don't know what Venmo is, Terry. I have no idea. My son's asked me if I had it too. I don't know what it is. I guess I have to look that up. It's very difficult for me to do all of these computer and technology pieces. It takes me out of the other areas that I need to go into to get all of this. And the structure for these classes have been here for a long time, in a one-on-one, or actually groups of somewhere between 6 or 7 to like 30 or 40, which is how I've worked for years and years. But it's not the same piece as being able to have a course that you can just open up anytime you start, and I don't have to personally be there, but to have a piece where you can take that course, and I'm giving you all of the pieces that I can foresee you will need, that I have been given, and you can come on, get in touch with me, and have interaction where you don't have to come in and get like a personalized session. Uh, I believe that what I have structured will work, and we'll do the pieces where you can come in and ask questions. And here in Ancient Powers, and also Semitawi has its own group already, and Semitawi Women's Empowerment has its own group. I have like 18 grads in the Semitawi Women's Empowerment. There's a lot of Ancient Powers grads. Some of you who have took courses from me for years, and I will be sending coupons and stuff like that for all of you to be able to continue. And okay, Venmo is like PayPal. I have PayPal, but I don't have Venmo. I'll have to look into it. And to let you guys know, actually, Terry Callahan and I have been around each other and in and out of each other's lives since right after high school. And we've been very good friends for, I don't know, probably close to a decade now, with the friendship becoming closer. Terry's very empathic and very powerfully empathic, and I would really like to unwind that empathy and open up the real gifts that she has, because I know that she's extraordinarily gifted, and I really believe one of her gifts is the ability to speak with animals. And she's like the bomb. I love her. And I know that she is very connected into the resonance field because she's powerfully gifted in dance, and she really grounds music. So, and grids that are coming in with music. So, I talked to her pretty directly. It's like, Terry, PM me, call me. And she can explain it to me, Lucy. So, I can go on. But this piece with Notre Dame, it's absolutely no shock whatsoever. About 95% that all these hundreds of millions of dollars, like, oh, take this, rebuild Notre Dame. They know that without Notre Dame, without that particular place kept, I can't wait for lords to be freed. But without that particular cap, their whole structure is crumbling. And it's amazing. The piece that was shocking was that they thought rebuilding the cathedral would recreate the structure. They killed over 9 million women and children, especially in Europe. They tortured and conscripted the men as soldiers into the war, or into making them work on these cathedrals that took hundreds of years. Many of them came in and did work on it for free, but more of them did not, because this God that this edifice was being created for, on their deities, their idea, their tribal structure of what is divine and holy, which is what comes from nature and the Mother Earth, and what aligns within each person themselves, belong to that correct earth structure, born of the earth. And they weren't too happy to have it capped. They weren't too happy to have their women and children hunted and killed as witches. They weren't very happy at all losing their healers or their teachers. And they went for great long periods of time without any payment. We do not have the ability, and Scotland doesn't, and Wales doesn't, and all of these other places that have been sucked into part of France. Actually, the Avignon, the Navarre would be French. I was speaking earlier of what England's taken. The Irish were still fighting for freedom. The Scots didn't really go down at Culloden. They weren't done. And they've been enslaved. to the monarchy, and to them a foreign monarchy, and taken in by Catholicism, and then later on by what became the Church of England and their style of supposed to be Protestant. But we come from tribal structures, and a good deal of the ones who fled to America came here to not be inside that structure. So anyway, we will have more energy. Ancestral codes have been released. Please be aware you have ancestral memory. That's how epigenetics works. And you can look that up. But if you've got lineage that goes back to those that were killed and used in the blood sacrifice of Notre Dame, do not be surprised to go into mourning, to feel the loss of the people that you could not mourn then. Do not be surprised if you feel great bursts and surges of joy and happiness, of release. Don't be surprised if you start flipping through and you're having what seems kind of like a flashback, but it doesn't have anything to do with your life, because these are ancestral pieces that are opening up, flitting through, creating connections. Don't weep for Notre Dame or the mosque or the Acropolis. Know that your ancient connections will begin to be more strongly and heavily bridged, because the Catholic Church is being denied that energy. I wait and hope that in my lifetime I see the Catholics of the current time, in all the generations living, march against the church. Demand the lands back to be released from the church to the people. Demand that the ancient records be released from beneath the Vatican and in other catacombs, so that we can have the history of humanity back. I wait for them to leave the church. The whore of Babylon. Drinking the blood of the people. I wait. And if it doesn't happen in this life, it's okay. I'll be back. I've already waited through a multitude of lifetimes, and I remember a great deal of them. And if you'd like to bring yours into your current field of memory and awaken your Ka, well, Body of Unification's coming soon. I love everyone that's come in, and I love all of you out there that are working on changing your own energy to be healthy for you. Blessings. Nefer Ka.